A successful man's greatest fear isn't losing his wealth, but realizing that the kingdom he built on principle is being ruled by petty tyrants who care nothing for the people, the very people who are the foundation of everything. When you spend 2 decades building a company from the ground up, pouring every drop of sweat and every late night into a vision of respect and opportunity, only to suspect that a key manager is poisoning the well, a cold dread settles in your stomach that money can't buy a cure for. Could the stories he'd been hearing, the complaints about unfair hours, withheld bonuses, and worst of all, a dismissive, hostile attitude toward new hires actually be true? He needed to know for certain before he risked dismantling what was actually working. What would you do if you suspected a manager you trusted was actually a bully behind your back and you had the power to stop him right now? Let us know where you're watching from in the comments and help us see our global reach. Let's dive to see. Arthur Vance, the founder and chief executive of Summit Supply, a national distributor of packaging materials, adjusted the ill-fitting spectacles perched on his nose, which were a prop, really more than a necessity. The cheap charcoal grey uniform felt stiff against his skin, a stark contrast to the custom Italian wool suits he usually wore. For the past 2 weeks he had been known only as Al, a slightly clumsy, middle-aged trainee tasked with basic inventory and loading dock duties at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Warehouse, the very one managed by Kent Nelson. Kent was a man Arthur had personally promoted 5 years ago, believing him to be a capable, driven leader. Now, disguised beneath a patchy, fake beard and a generic working man haircut, Arthur was a ghost in his own machine, and the atmosphere in this building felt heavier, slower, and noticeably more tense than any other facility he'd visited. He spent the morning carefully stacking pallets of corrugated boxes, his back beginning to ache with a real, honest exhaustion he hadn't felt since his 20s. It gave him a chance to observe Kent, who was currently barking orders at a young man named Cody. Cody looked about 20, maybe 21, a fresh face with a determined but slightly worried expression, the kind Arthur often saw in the newest batch of trainees. Cody was trying to secure a shipment of heavy-duty shrink wrap onto a forklift pallet, and the plastic film kept slipping. "You gonna take all day on that, kid?" Kent's voice sliced through the drone of the ventilation system. It wasn't loud, but it carried a sharp, impatient edge. "No, that's basic stuff. We got deadlines here, not a kindergarten craft hour. Get it done right now, or get out of the way." Cody flinched, his jaw tightening, but he didn't say anything, just redoubled his effort. Arthur, as Al, walked over casually, pretending to check a box label near Cody. "Tough break, son," he muttered quietly, leaning in. "Sometimes the quiet choice is the courageous one, though." Cody gave him a quick, grateful nod, his eyes flicking nervously toward Kent, who was now swaggering toward the main office door. "He's like this every day, Al," Cody whispered back, his voice low and defeated. "He makes mistakes feel like felonies. I need this job, though. My old man just got laid off at the manufacturing plant, so every dollar counts. I'm trying to save up for a community college class. I told him that." "He knows you're putting yourself through school and supporting your father?" Arthur asked, a knot tightening in his chest. This was exactly the kind of situation he wanted his company to help, not hinder. "Yeah, he does," Cody confirmed, his gaze dropping to his work boots. "I made the mistake of telling him I was taking an evening class starting next month. He told me, 'School's nice, but reality pays the rent, boy. Pick one or the other.'" A short, sad quote flashed through Arthur's mind. The worst kind of hurt is the silent kind. Arthur felt a slow burn of anger, but he had to keep Al, the trainee, calm and unthreatening. He put a hand on Cody's shoulder. "Keep your head down, Cody. Focus on the work. Good things follow good effort. They always do." Later that afternoon, Arthur was back near the office, ostensibly sweeping the floor, when Kent was on a phone call. The door to his tiny office was ajar, and his voice, loud and full of contempt, was impossible to ignore. "Yeah, I know he's good, Daniel," Kent scoffed into the phone, "but he's not hungry enough, you know? He's always talking about his responsibilities. like his kid who's all of 20 and going to a state school. Listen, I told him, you want the weekend shift lead? You drop the college dream for a year, you work the floor until you can breathe cardboard dust, or you're just another body filling a spot. He had the audacity to tell me that his son needs that income to stay in school, and that he is proud of him for trying to better himself. Can you believe the nerve? His father's a casualty of the market. His boy needs to realize that the world owes him nothing. He's trying to be a hero when he needs to be a workhorse. It's pathetic, honestly. That whole family is just a drag on the system, holding up the real go-getters. I'm telling you, I'll find a reason to cut his hours until he gives up on that foolish dream. The blood drained from Arthur's face, a sudden, blinding rush of fury replacing the slow burn. Kent wasn't talking about Cody, he was talking about Cody's father, Daniel, who Arthur remembered seeing on the application. A dedicated man with 2 decades of experience whose son, Cody, was working a grueling schedule to help him keep his feet under him. Kent was deliberately manipulating a father's love for his son, and a young man is ambition as a pressure point, using the real human struggle as leverage to extract more free time and dedication from an employee who was already giving everything he had. Kent's words about the family being a drag on the system and that Daniel was trying to be a hero felt like a physical strike. Arthur's company wasn't built for men like Kent, men who saw people as chess pieces to be moved and exploited. The disguise, the humility, the quiet observation, it all vanished in a single focused moment of pure righteous anger. Arthur dropped the broom with a loud clatter that stopped Kent's mocking laughter instantly. Kent spun around, annoyance etched on his face, ready to snap at the clumsy trainee. Arthur ripped the fake beard off his chin and yanked the ridiculous glasses from his face. The sudden change, the emergence of the sharp, powerful gaze of the company's founder, hit Kent like a physical blow. I think, Arthur said, his voice flat and dangerously low, the natural authority he possessed, filling the warehouse floor. Say, the only person who is a drag on the system around here is a man who preys on a father's hope for his son's future. He walked slowly into the office, his eyes never leaving Kent's, who was now a pale, sweating statue of disbelief. You just told your friend that one of my employees, a man with 20 years of experience who is taking care of his son, is pathetic because he cares about his family and his boy is education. You are deliberately holding back a hard worker because his personal life doesn't fit your cruel, selfish metrics. Kent stammered, his mind racing for an excuse. Mr. Vance, I mean Arthur, this is just a misunderstanding. I was simply trying to push Daniel to focus, to fire him, Arthur finished, his voice cutting through the weak defense. To cut his hours until he gave up. I heard you, Kent. Every word. You thought you were in the clear, behind a closed door, but I was right here. Arthur reached across the desk, picking up Kent's security badge, which lay next to his keys. He didn't toss it. He simply held it up, presenting it like evidence of a crime. Effective immediately, you are terminated from Summit Supply, Arthur declared, the finality absolute. You don't understand the spirit of this company, Kent. We are here to lift people up, to provide a way for men like Daniel to support their sons, to encourage young men like Cody to seek a better future. You are a cancer on that mission. He dropped the badge into the wastebasket. I'll have security escort you out. You have 1 hour to clear your desk. Get your things. Arthur turned his back on the now silent Kent, his fury giving way to a weary, necessary resolve. He walked out onto the floor where Cody was still working, eyes wide and fixed on the drama, the whole warehouse staff now watching. Arthur walked straight to him. Cody, he said, his voice firm but kind, you tell your father, Daniel, that he is getting a substantial raise, a full performance bonus, and the weekend shift lead position, effective today. And you, he added, a small, genuine smile finally reaching his eyes, are taking that community college class. I'll make sure your schedule works around it. You don't have to choose between work and ambition. Not here. Cody's eyes welled up, and he nodded, unable to speak, the relief washing over his young face an open, emotional floodgate. Arthur clapped him on the shoulder. It was a good day, Arthur thought. A day when the truth came to light and justice, simple and complete, was served. The pain of the undercover job was worth the clarity it brought. In the end, a company's greatest asset isn't its inventory or its logistics. It's the simple fact that a real leader knows that true wealth is built on the dignity of the men who earn it, and respect is the only currency that matters.